To start off, I'm dedicating this video to Pat Burns, who passed away on Friday, November the 19th at the age of 58 of lung cancer. Pat Burns was a three-time Jack Adams Awards winner, coaching 4 different teams. The Montreal Canadiens from 1988 to 1992, the Toronto Maple Leafs from 1992 to 1996, the Boston Bruins from 1997 to 2001, and capped off his career by coaching the New Jersey Devils from 2002 to 2004, winning the Stanley Cup with them in 2003. Pat, thank you so much for all you've given the hockey world. You're truly one of the best coaches ever, and certainly the best Leaf coach I've ever seen. Rest in peace, Pat Burns. Moving on, a sweet 2-win week ends the streak of misery, and suddenly the pitchforks are nowhere to be found. Welcome to the penalty box! You know what, I'm not even going to focus on 2 weeks ago because by now it's irrelevant. Moving on to the wins. Leafs win their first in 9 games against the Nashville Predators 5-4. This was their first win since October 26th. For those of you keeping score at home, that's 3 weeks. And this game was so frustrating to watch unfold for the first half of it. Because after a spirited effort against the Canucks, it's as if the guys turned to each other and said, "You know that game we almost won against one of the best teams in the league? Yeah, this time let's not do any of the stuff we did in that game." Early in the game, JP Dumont opens the scoring for the Preds. It's 1-0. Midway through the first, leg one feeds one up ice to Jordan Tutu, who breaks in on net and converts easily, putting the Preds up by 2. Less than a minute later, Grabowski makes a very ill-advised cross-ice pass, which goes straight into Martin Erat. He puts the Preds up by 3. But before the end of the first period, the Leafs answer back with a shot by Luke Schenn, who snipes his first of the year, which results in a huge shift in momentum. Right? Then about 5 minutes into the second, Brett Lebda strikes. Buddy, I know you're a good defenseman, I know you can do better, but what is it with you doing the worst possible thing at the worst possible time? It is impossible to be a fan of you. He turns it over on the power play, leading to a Marcel Gottsch breakaway and a short-handed goal. The Leafs are down 4-1. Then, something happened. The Leafs wake up. A couple of minutes later, on a 5-on-3, Christopher Stieg beats Pecorine with a beauty wrister, and the Leafs are within 2. Less than a minute later, after Kadri draws a hooking penalty to put the Leafs on another 5-on-3, Christopher Stieg strikes again. He scores his second of the game, not too far from where he scored his first, and it's a 1-goal game. The Leafs keep rolling. Less than 5 minutes later, Keith Ollie fires one from the point, and it goes in, and the Leafs are tied. Or so he thought. It turns out Mike Brown bumped Rene. Marginal call in my opinion, but it's enough to get the goal called off. Just over 5 minutes left in the period, Grabowski scoops up a cross-ice pass from Clark MacArthur, dangles it past Rene, and it's a tie game. Are you serious? Did we just score 3 power play goals in a row? Just under 4 minutes left in the period, MacArthur was hooked by Joel Ward. The Preds were massacred by penalties in this one. That's the 6th Leaf power play of the period. And the Leafs take advantage. MacArthur feeds Kuhlman from the same spot, and Kuhlman scores, giving MacArthur his 2nd assist of the game, and the Leafs are up by 1. We move into the third, and Giguère puts on a clinic of goaltending, stopping 24 of 28 shots. He robs a golden opportunity from Cal O'Reilly, but he tweaks something in his groin and... uh-oh. Jonas Gustafsson has to come in cold to preserve the win. But Gus rises to the challenge. He makes some insane pad saves at the right time, stopping 6 shots in the final 13 minutes to hang on, and the Leafs preserve the win 5-4 in a bizarre game. After the game, we find out Giguère's out 2 weeks with a groin pull, and this gives Gustafsson a chance to really show his colors. And normally when your starter goes down, that's bad news. But the way Jonas is playing, I really can't complain. Because throughout the season, there are only a few Leafs who have given a consistent effort every game. And among those few, the goalies are standouts. Giguère and Gustafsson have performed their jobs admirably, and if they had had some more offensive support, we wouldn't have had a 3-week skid. Next game, the Leafs win 3-1 against the New Jersey Devils. After a scoreless first period, the Leafs are on the power play. Grabowski scoops up a rebound off a Nikolai Kulemin shot and snipes it past Brodeur. Leafs are up 1-0. Halfway through the period, Kadri passes to Kessel, who's standing by the side of the net. He makes no mistakes, it's 2-0. About 5 minutes left in the second frame, Alexander Vasyunov shoots from the side of the net. It hits Danius Zubris' skate and sneaks past Gus to put the Devils on the scoreboard. As the period winds down, Mike Brown runs into Martin Brodeur's elbow. That tweaks something and Brodeur has to sit out the third period. In comes Johan Hedberg. Again on the power play, Kadri passes up ice to Chris Versteeg and he capitalizes, making it 3-1 Leafs, giving Kadri his second assist of the game and Verbeutty his third goal in 2 games. And Gus hangs on, making 29 saves to keep the Leafs up by 2 and end the game. And here is an example of how early it is. With that Leafs win, they rose from 13th in the East, 5th last in the league, 4 points up from last place to, wait for it, 10th in the East, 2 points out of a playoff spot, with a game in hand on the team in the last playoff spot, the Ottawa Senators. Savor it. The thing is, when we've had a month like we just had, it's easy to forget how early in the season it is. And I'm just as guilty, I freely admit it, I was pissed. The expectations were high, the Leafs got off to a 4-0 start, we all thought they were primed for a deep playoff push, and then we get bleh. 8 losses later and we're ready for heads to roll. But even though it's only been 2 wins, we're right back into the thick of things in the hunt for a playoff spot. Just some perspective. We've got over 60 more of these games to go. Moving on, let's finish it off with the oldest and greatest rivalry in hockey, Toronto versus Montreal in Montreal. After a pre-game ceremony celebrating the life and career of the legendary Pat Burns, the Leafs and Habs got down to business. And what a back and forth affair this one was. Crazy chances at both ends of the ice, the Habs getting off 17 shots and the Leafs getting off 10, but both goalies stand tall and it remains scoreless after 1. Moving into the second, halfway through the period on a Leafs power play, the Habs score an odd one. Yaroslav Spacek's point shot is tipped by Jeff Halpern and Gus doesn't get out his pad in time. The Habs pot a short-handed goal and go up by 1. The Leafs continue to get chances, but Price was on and the score remains 1-0 Habs to end the period. And in the third, with the Habs on the power play, Komisarek serves up a pizza. Beauty cross-ice pass, tape to tape to Mike Camilleri. Gustafsson never even had a chance. Camilleri puts them up 2-0. And that's where it stays. Despite plenty of effort and opportunities, including 2 minutes with the Leafs on a man advantage and an empty net, they cannot solve Carey Price. And the Habs win it in a shutout. And even though it sucks to lose to the Habs, especially when it's a shutout, I really can't be mad at the Leafs with this one. Because this is where this shutout loss differs from the other ones the Leafs have suffered this year. They played with loads of jump, loads of energy, but Price was unstoppable. And at the other end of the ice, Jonas Gustafsson was exceptional as usual, stopping 37 of 39 shots. When you play the kind of game the Leafs played on Saturday, 9 out of 10 times you're going to win that game. And what can you say about Price? He is finally turning into the goalie that the Habs wanted him to be. I really had my doubts, especially after Halak stole his job last season, but the decision of the Habs brass to stick with Carey Price is paying off in a major way. And it's nice to see him finally getting his due from the same boneheads that booed him earlier this season. Well, that does it for this week. We face Dallas, Buffalo, and Ottawa next. Hopefully we can get things back on track. Go Leafs, go. Oh, and one more thing before we go. Napoli Man 99, this one's for you. Heffiewiggle. Heffiewiggle. He's a klutzy moron, but he knows some stuff about hockey. Subscribe.